Your reading will start.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, this old deck's kind of strange.
Where did you find them?
It's an unspoken rule not to use somebody else's cards.
Who cares? Who's going first?
Oh boy. Okay. Tarot, or as I like to call it, tarot. Because this movie just rots. Alright, so when I heard about the movie, I thought, this does look intriguing, but at the same time, I can see where this can just fumble. And then people saw it and were saying, yep, it absolutely fumbled. Or in this case, because it's cards, they folded. And so I was like, I still kind of have some interest in this. And my little brother, who's, just starting to kind of get into horror, had a little bit of interest in this. So I'm like, you know what? We'll check it out. I'm very glad I did not see this in the theaters, because to me, I would have been angry. I would have been more angry than the movie, than what I actually saw. So the story of this is a bunch of I think they were college kids, I think. They go to like this Airbnb place that's like a cabin, and they find a door that says "Do not enter." Now, what is the typical thing in any horror movie with teenagers or college kids? They don't listen. And they just say, hey, just open up the door and we'll check it out. And they find a whole bunch of cursed stuff, but they find a cursed tarot card deck. Now, it's pretty known that if you find a tarot deck that's not yours, I don't know commonly, but it is known for, you don't play with it. But these stupid kids, and yes, I said kids, even though they're in college, because they feel like little kids, don't respect that and just go, hey, let's just play with it. And then it becomes pretty much like a Final Destination type movie where each person gets a different card, and then that certain entity then comes after them and tries to kill them. It feels very Final Destination. And that was something I didn't want to see with this. And, personally, this movie could have worked. Being focused around a cursed tarot deck. I was like, you know what? I haven't really seen that before. Okay. Hopefully they don't take some exit polls and go the easy way out and just be somewhat ripping off other stuff and just call it their own. Let's hopefully they don't do that. They do that here. This feels like they had a crayon and they were making it up as they went along, like as they were shooting it. And even in the editing, it felt like at times the editing was chopped together maybe a couple of days before the premiere. So it's like Cats all over again. Because the sound effects, there are multiple sound effects used that you have heard in multiple other different things. I even whispered to my little brother and I said, that one they used in Kitchen Nightmares, which is that like, it was like that like eerie, like ring, like sound, like if you hear it, you know exactly what you're talking about. It's like they play it in Kitchen Nightmares, they play it in all the true crime stuff, and it's just like, this is so overused. Like, what are you doing? There's a lot of things in this movie that are from a lot of PG-13 horror movies. So like, we always have to have the Google research scene where it's a scene where they have to research, how do you stop this curse? It's the stupid PG-13 curse horror movies all over again. So like, Truth or Dare, like The Bye-Bye Man, like Slender Man. It's all of those again. And we've gotten to the point now where that needs to stop. Honestly, it should have stopped from the beginning. But now it's like, you need to just stop it. Need to stop. It also doesn't help that I hated everybody in this movie. There was not one character that wanted to live. And that never helps. But so you have that. There's like something in the background. And what's even funny is my little brother, who doesn't really watch a whole lot of horror stuff, he even called points that were going to happen. Because he's like watching, there's like a scene where it's like a dark hallway. He's like, something's going to pop out in this dark hallway. And something does. And I'm like, you haven't seen like any to know, like, you haven't seen like a lot of horror movies. I'm surprised you would know this. And he's like, because I'm not stupid. And yeah, that just made me laugh. So it was actually more entertaining, my little brother calling out points that actually happen, even though he's never really watched a lot of horror movies. That was the best part of this movie. I was more entertained by that. So, and they overly explain stuff. Like, there's a scene where they explain the curse, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. We've seen it before, multiple times, but like, okay, like, all right, you're explaining. To at the very end of it, one of them just goes, so you're saying it's basically da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yes, have you not been paying attention to, like, the last minute of them explaining why you're freaking cursed? Like, you are just a moron. And, like with Final Destination, this feels very much like a mixture of Truth or Dare and Final Destination. And if you know me, you know how much I hate Truth or Dare. Final Destination, some movies have their moments. Some are good, some are okay, and then some are just bad. But it's a very dark looking movie, which means, like, I think they spent about maybe $5 on lighting. So if you're not watching in the dark, you really can't see anything. So I think if you're not watching it in the dark, then all, like, the spooky moments or, like, the stuff you might be able to see, like, with, like, the entities, you're probably going to miss it. So, honestly, there's nothing new to it. And there's even a part in here where one of them gets chased by an entity. And I told my little brother, oh my God, I hope they don't do this. And I told him what it was. And they did it. And I went, that is so lame. That is so lazy. That is so predictable. I kind of do want to spoil it. But at the same time, I don't. But this is just a mess. This is exactly what we have gotten with these stupid PG-13 cursed horror films with these stupid teenagers. They learn about something and they don't listen to any of the consequences before they start doing it. They're just rebellious, stupid teenagers, and I'm sick and tired of seeing it. It needs to stop. So this, honestly, I was going to be nice and give this kind of a fine. But because this movie was so damn predictable and everything, like, I was literally taking notes as I was watching the movie. My little brother and I didn't care. And then after the movie was over, I asked him, like, so what'd you think of it? And he just went, that sucked. And I said, were you scared at all? And he went, no. He just went, no. Like, no, that wasn't scary. So, at least I'm teaching him, like, what's the difference between a good horror movie and a bad one. So, this movie wasn't a total failure, but you know what? This is an absolute terrible. This is a terrible, terrible movie that it's exactly the same. Like, so if you've seen Bye My Man, you've seen this movie. If you've seen Truth or Dare, you've seen this movie. If you've seen Slender Man, you've seen this movie. It's the same thing. It's like, hey, let's take something. Like, let's take, a supernatural entity that was birthed from the internet. Or let's take a game that is reportedly cursed, even though it's so stupid and implausible. Or in this case, let's take a tarot deck and basically make a curse out of that. But basically let's throw all the stuff that you've seen in all these stupid cursed horror films and let's just do the same thing over again. That is exactly what this is. So that's just being lazy. That is lazy. So this absolutely gets it terrible. I don't know what to say about it. I'm more irritated because this movie had such high potential, because from the trailer there were parts in it that I was like, okay, that is kind of cool. There are setups that are kind of cool, but the executions are just flat up lazy and terrible, which sucks. I hate seeing wasted potential. This movie had a potential to be really good and creative and interesting, and they just fumbled with it. They did not care one bit. So you get a terrible. So whatever. This movie can just, I fold. I don't want to play anymore.
Who's next?